This episode is brought to you by Vinitaly International Academy, the toughest Italian wine program. 1,000 candidates have produced 262 Italian wine ambassadors to date. Next courses in Hong Kong, Russia, New York, and Verona. Think you make the cut? Apply now at vinitalyinternational.com.
Welcome to this special Italian wine podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
So, hello everybody, my name's Stevie Kim, and this is the Italian Wine Club. I believe, is this the 28th edition? I can't remember.
Yes, this is the 28th edition.
Okay, great. This is, I don't know, it's pretty hard to believe. It's the 28th edition of Ambassador's Corner at the Italian Wine Club on Clubhouse. Of course, you guys know that we do replay this on Italian Wine Podcast at some point, and it has been absolutely fabulous. We published the top 10 list from 2021, by the way. Thank you all so much for supporting us. We've hit million listens just last year alone. It really means a lot to us. So, and the Ambassador's Corner has been very successful. And I would love to thank all of our ambassadors for that as well. So today is our 20th edition, and we are here with Lorenzo, who Marcia will introduce. But let me just tell you what this is about. Most of you I see in the audience, you know what this is all about. The Ambassador's Corner is so that we can kind of bridge the gap between the Italian ambassadors at large and with the producers. So, and they get to choose their favorite Italian wine producers. And this is where we have a small chat for circa 1 hour. I mind everybody's time, so we try to cap it off at 1 hour mark. So today's moderator is Marcia Hamm. Did I say that correctly? I never know how to pronounce your first name.
No, you totally got it right, Stevie.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's Marcia Hamm, and she's our Italian wine expert, one of the very few, which means she's the top level of the Vinitaly International Academy ambassadorship. She is based still in Edmonton. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, and specifically in Alberta with your friend Gurvinder. Do you get to see Gurvinder much?
No, I think he's off traveling again. He's been in other parts of the world doing some wine judging. So
hopefully you will be coming back to Verona, and you'll get to see your neighbor in Verona in April.
Isn't that interesting?
How interesting is that? So right now, tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now, Marcia. I remember when I came to you, you were running a wine shop in your area, specialized, of course, in Italian wine. But what are you doing now?
I am in a different wine shop. I'm in a very large, what some people would call a big box store. However, we sort of bridge the gap in our store between a boutique and a large store, because we do have a very niche selection of wines. And we do specialize in Italian wines here as well. Since my arrival, the Italian section has certainly expanded. And so I run the vintage room here, which is the collectible, cellar-worthy wine room, as well as I'm the floor manager. I make sure things are kind of running smoothly here on the floor, and do a lot of sales.
Great, fantastic. And the shop is called Everything Wine and More. Is that correct?
That is right. Yeah.
Okay. So, first of all, congratulations. I don't know when you got your diploma, but you're also a diploma holder. And you also did the Italian Wine Scholar program. So, you're also an Italian Wine Scholar. You're also an educator for Veneto International Academy. You did one course, right? You had a group of one class, or did you do more than that?
No, I've just had the one class. That was in December of 2019, and then we all know what happened after that.
Right, right. So what is the COVID situation there right now?
Well, it's we're certainly not locked down, but it's masks everywhere you go, and hospital admissions are still up, and we're I think like everybody else, just trying to run its course and get through and move on.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw you, so I'm really looking forward to seeing you very, very soon. Marcia, listen, we always get to ask our ambassadors, why did you select Lorenzo Marotti Campi as your favorite producers? Because you know tons of Italian wine producers. Why did you choose him for today's call?
I do know a lot of producers. I've been very lucky and blessed to have met a lot of really great producers, but I've always had a very good relationship with Lorenzo. I've done several calls with him before. We've met here in Market in Alberta. I've been to the Marque a couple of times and have been able to sit down to dinner with him, not just on a professional level, but just a personal level. I was invited to his estate, but I wasn't able to go, unfortunately. But it's important, I think, for everybody to know that his estate produces Lacrima, which is one of the few aromatic red grapes that Italy has. And his particular estate produces a table wine from it, a sparkling Pasito, a Frizzante. It's a very interesting grape and a very interesting thing that he's doing. So that's why I chose him.
Oh, great. Oh, let me just give a shout out to Dino. Dino, listen, I'm going to reach out to you because one of our podcasters want to interview you. I see Dino Bori in the audience. Okay. And then how did you meet Lorenzo?
I met him through the importer, his importer here in Alberta, who is a friend of mine. So her partner.
What is the name of the importer in Alberta?
It's Wine Quest Spirit Brokers.
Okay.
Yeah, so a really small company that represents Lorenzo's wine here in Market. And I was able to walk around tasting where I tasted his wine, specifically the Orgiolo Lacrima, and that has been a wine that has really really stayed with me as far as I will never forget the first time I had it, and it's one of those wines that I will always recommend to people and that I think is just absolutely fantastic just for the qualities and the aromas. And
so, Marcia, what after this call, you see a lot of your colleagues and co-ambassadors here, Erin. Shout out to Erin and Tushar from Dubai. And of course, Melissa, I see Amelia, Kevin. I hope you can come. Andre, Fanny, Eric, and so on. So what do we expect from you after this call? What can we learn? What are the learning objectives?
We are going to learn all about Lacrima. Really, it's about how it operates in the vineyard, how it behaves, what wines it makes, why we should drink it.
Okay, fantastic. So you won't believe this, but this is the part where I get to shut up. It rarely happens, so and you can just take it away. To you, Marcia.
All right.
I'll come back later when, like if there's some questions and answer if there's time. Okay? And to close up the room later. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. See you later. So yeah, as I said, we're going to be, Lorenzo and I will be chatting today. This is not the first time we've done this. We've had quite a few lengthy chats about Lacrima, but just to give you a little bit of an introduction on Lorenzo, and he can expand on this as well. He and his family currently live in Rome. He was born there and has an economics degree from Rome. And he literally only spent the summer holidays in the Marque with his family. It's 3 generations. I don't think he ever thought that he would be running a winery, but here he is, 23 some years later, and he's still in the wine path, in the wine business. It's a family-run business, of course, with focus on Verdicchio and Lacrima. And Lorenzo supervises the wine production and manages the sales and many other tasks. And of course, we see him at Vinitaly and in Market and other places like that. So, ciao, Lorenzo. It's really nice to be chatting with you again.
Ciao everybody.
So I moved in the market since 23 years ago, but it was not planned. It was my father who, after he retired from a career in the spirits, decided to build a winery in the property to vinify the grapes that we already had, because we had over 50 hectares of grapes back then. And I told him, okay, I can help you at the beginning, then I will choose my road. And now, after 23 years, I think this was my road. So here I am.
So, so we know that you live in the countryside of Le Marche, but tell us exactly, specifically where you're located and what you produce.
Okay, first of all, Le Marche, I don't know if everyone is familiar with Le Marche. Le Marche is in the central east coast of Italy, on the Adriatic Sea. It is a beautiful region with a widespread beauty, with gentle rolling hill descending from the Apennino Mountains to the coast. There is almost no flat land in Le Marche. We are in the center of Le Marche, in the Ancona province, halfway between the medieval city of Iesi, inland, located inland, and the coast, just 10 kilometers from the coast on the small town of Senigallia. Both of them are very old medieval towns that still preserve their medieval walls. So Le Marche, it's the unspoiled, real Italian countryside, rich of medieval villages with its culture, heritage, and still untouched by the mass tourism.
For those of you that are listening that have not been to Le Marche, you absolutely need to go, because it's stunning. It's absolutely gorgeous. So
Morro d'Alba is the center of two appellations, which are Verdicchio dei Castelli di Iesi. We produce also Verdicchio. Is not a second son for us. We love Verdicchio. It's just today is more about Lacrima, but and it's a center of also the appellation Lacrima di Morro d'Alba, which we are the largest growers of.
Yes. So, as I've mentioned, we've talked about Lacrima before, and you said you are the largest growers. How many hectares do you have under vine of Lacrima?
Well, maybe we should consider the Lacrima was a disappearing grape. And back in 1985, there were only 7 hectares left. When we started the winery in 1999, there were only 50 hectares and we owned 25. Today, we have about 35 hectares of Lacrima. Out of a total of 200. So we are the single largest growers. There are other growers, of course. Not all of them make wine. Many of them, they just sell the grape. But there's a total of almost, I think it's 22 today, 22 producers of Lacrima di Morro d'Alba.
So, you mentioned you have 35 hectares and you are the single largest grower. We've had a conversation about the fact that you actually make wine for other wineries. Why do you do this, and why do you choose to do this as opposed to just producing it all?
Well,
Marotti Campi.
Two main reasons. First, we started the winery when we owned a total of 70 hectares of grapes between Lacrima and Verdicchio. And as you know, unfortunately, it's not so easy to go on the market with over 500,000 bottles and in a short amount of time, at least in a generation. It takes time to develop a market, and we didn't want to rush to the market with too many bottles. So producing Lacrima for others, it means for us that we can be very selective on the grapes, because we vinify everything and we keep the very best for us. And especially when you work on the Lacrima, this is very helpful in being consistent in quality. Because if, let's say, out of 100, we take 30% for us, and the rest we produce we bottle for other producers. This means that despite the harvest and the condition of the single vintage, we manage to be a bit more consistent in the quality. And again, with the Lacrima, it is a very critical aspect because Lacrima tend to vary from vintage to vintage a lot in terms of both yields per hectare and in terms of quality.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the grape itself, let's chat about that for my fellow ambassadors in the room. We all know how important this information is to us in our learning and into sharing information with others. So many Italian grapes, of course, are given their names based on their color, their shape, where they're grown, characteristics, and of course, lacrima means tear. So can you tell us about that? Why this particular grape is named lacrima, and how they ripen? I mean, I know the answer, but let's hear what you have to say and tell everybody else about it.
Yes, Lacrima di Morro d'Alba is a long name, not so easy to pronunciate, but I think it's a beautiful name for an appellation because in its name it has both the name of the varietal and the name of the location where the Lacrima is produced, which is the village of Morro d'Alba. Teardrop is because the skin of the grape is thick but fragile, and when it gets towards the maturation, since the cluster tend to be very compact and tight, the skin breaks and leaks black tears on the ground. It is very critical that you harvest right before this happens because being very tight, the cluster, it tends to develop molds and other problem that you don't want to bring in the winery. So that's why we call it lacrima, which implies also the fact that the harvest time on the lacrima, differently from verdicchio, is not very flexible. When it's time, it's time. You don't have a large room, large window of time to pick the grape.
So literally, you're saying that as soon as you pick the grape, you got to get it to the winery because it might start fermenting right away.
No, not really that. I'm saying that when the grapes get towards the maturation, since the cluster is very tight and the skins tend to break, and you don't want to leave the grape on the vineyards leaking juice because being the cluster very tight and compact, it can create problems. So the winery is very close. So as soon as we pick the grape, we bring to the winery. It doesn't have time to ferment, but you need to do with the right timings.
Yes, right. So once it gets into the winery, are you using native yeast, natural fermentation?
We don't want to gamble with 70 hectares of grapes. We use selected yeast because it's totally untrue that only indigenous grape make typical wine. That's not. We do not believe in this. We do believe in research. We do believe in the fact that after 23 years, we've been experimenting several selected yeast, which are not characterized in yeast, just select good fermenters, which on the lacrima are critical and for several aspects. And we came out with a specific one, which is very good in linking with the sulfur the lacrima extract after the fermentation. So it develops after the fermentation. So we don't need to intervene to clean the lacrima too much. So I think that's why we use selected yeast.
Okay. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense to me. As you said, you don't want to be playing Russian roulette with your 70 hectares that you're making the best for yourself and making for other producers as well.
Yes, at the end, I mean, the yeast must just take ferment the sugar into alcohol in the proper way without leaving the open door for bacteria or other problem, which in the lacrima, being an aromatic grape, would result amplified after the process is finished. So that's why.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's talk about the still wines right now, the Rubico and the Orgiolo. So, can you explain to us, Lorenzo, the differences in the winemaking of those two?
Yes, when I started making Lacrima, there was only one version of Lacrima. It was the young Lacrima, vinified in stainless steel only, that expresses at its highest level the primary aromas of the grape, which are roses, violet, lavender, the floral primary aromas which Lacrima is known for. Just it was believed that that was the only way of making Lacrima. When we started making Lacrima, we decided that we needed to experiment a bit more to see the true potential of this grape, to see if it was possible to age Lacrima and have different expression than just a young Beaujolais Nouveau style kind of red wine. So along with a young version of Lacrima, which is the Rubico, which is vinified in stainless steel, to give the fresh expression of the grape, we started making another version of Lacrima, which is the Orgiolo, our Lacrima Superiore, who comes out in the market after 1 year of aging in used oak barrels. We say almost neutral oak after several passages. This because Lacrima, it's extremely rich in anthocyanins, which are very powerful antioxidants. And in the early stage, it tends to be a bit close. With the aging in the wood, we help the Lacrima to evolve a bit faster and open up to different aromas, which are spices, more complex bouquet, maybe a bit less intense, but more complex and a bit more elegant. So with the Orgiolo, we have a version of Lacrima which is a bit slightly less rustic than the young Lacrima, more elegant and made for long aging, because Lacrima, differently from what people thought, can age extremely well. So Orgiolo is a vinified in stainless steel, but just aged in neutral oak.
Yeah. So I remember, the first time I tasted the Orgiolo, you literally could have heard a pin drop in the room with my tasting group, because I had never in my life experienced anything like that before. And this was before I started studying Italian grapes. But I just remember thinking, this is one of the coolest wines I have ever smelled. And as you said, it's very, very dark in color, and the floral aromas, the lavender came through, the rose. But I just want to challenge my fellow ambassadors in the room too. If you get a chance to taste Lorenzo's Orgiolo, look for green cardamom. It's just an interesting scent that I've never been able to get that out of my head. Every time I have a glass of Lacrima di Moro d'Alba from Lorenzo's Orgiolo, I always get that green cardamom note. So I challenge you, I dare you, when you try it, to find that note in there as well.
Yeah, Lacrima is can be a bit polarizing because it's extremely different red wine with a lot of personality. And of course, like everything with a lot of personality, you find people who love it and people who just don't like that kind of wine. But it's okay. We don't make wine for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And I like your comment about the ageability of it, because it's certainly not something that you think of, especially in an aromatic grape variety, that you can age it. So what's the oldest bottle that you have in your library right now for Lacrima, Lorenzo?
Well, I have the first vino. I have with the Lacrima, especially with the Orgiolo, we take apart several bottles because we can do vertical tasting. And I can say I have the latest, the last 20 vintages, dating back to the 2000 vintages, and they are all in very good shape. We've done several library tastings with all the vintages, and really there is not one that has fallen. And this in virtue of those anthocyanins and a good acidity, which keeps the freshness of the fruit and the freshness of the color. The Lacrima has this very red and violet color that it preserves even after several years. And this was unexpected because Lacrima originally was done only in carbonic maceration, like Beaujolais Nouveau. So that kind of vinification is perfect to emphasize the fresh aromas, the primary aromas of the wine, but then they fade early and they leave you with a wine which is not suitable for long aging. But if done in a different way, Lacrima really ages very well.
Well, I can't wait to try some of your older vintages sometime. Okay. Why? I know for you, you make several styles of wine with Lacrima. So why is Lacrima such a great for making pasito and sparkling, not just for still wines?
Well, why I make a different wine is because I only have two grapes, Verdicchio and Lacrima. I want to be recognized as a producer of these two grapes. So we experiment a lot in every form and shape these two grapes. So the reason we make Lacrima in different style, the main reason is that one. Is it Lacrima so versatile? Not as much as Verdicchio, I must say. But again, we make a rosé wine. We make a sparkling rosé. We don't make a passito di lacrima, though we make a partially fermented must of lacrima, which is the Xiris. Same procedure as a Moscato d'Asti or Lambrusco, I don't know, which is only 6 alcohol and the rest is natural residual sugars. So we play with the grape. Of course, the main wine we make is a red still wine, which can be called Lacrima, because it can be called Lacrima only in the still red wine version and in the Passito version. All the other forms of Lacrima, rosé, sparkling rosé, partially fermented, they cannot be called a Lacrima, so you won't find the Lacrima word on the label anywhere.
Yeah, that's correct. So the sparkling is just called Spumante Rosato Brut, made in the Charmat method, which I've had and I typically carry in the store here. And of course, we were just talking about the Xiris, which is a very interesting style, I think. So on the label it says Mosto di Uve parzialmente fermentato, and as you said, there's no lacrima on there anywhere on the label. So you stated that it was similar to Moscato as far as the alcohol content, but explain this whole process of this partially fermented must for the Xiris.
Yes, well, it's a first fermentation. We produce the must and we keep it at very cold temperature, so it doesn't start the fermentation. Then we put into autoclave, which keeps the carbonics during the fermentation. We start the fermentation and we stop it with the cold temperature and filter. We stop the fermentation when it reaches about 6.5 alcohol, so a bit higher than a Moscato, and the rest is just a natural residual sugar, let's say about 130 grams. The nice thing is that it's just natural residual sugar. It's not added sugar or concentrated grape must, which very often is added to this kind of wine, or also to still wine, unfortunately. So it's not sticky on the palate. It's not tiring. It's not the kind of sugar that saturates you very quickly. You can drink it. Of course, it's a sweet wine meant for dessert, but it leaves you a very fresh and clean palate. So that's the character of the wine. And you see, it's a version of Lacrima where you really taste the fruity, floral aromas of the grape, the violets, the roses you have on the nose and especially on the palate.
Yeah, it is a fantastic little wine. The Xiris, it's great with any sort of cherry fruit compote or a little bit of chocolate in there. Just let me reset the room for a moment. I am speaking to Lorenzo Marotti Campi from the Marotti Campi estate in La Marche. And today we're talking about Lacrima. So for those of you that missed it, I introduced Lorenzo earlier, and I gave a little bit of his background, and he expounded on that. But if you're just joining us, this is who we're speaking to today. And we're talking all about Lacrima, of course, which is an aromatic grape variety, a red aromatic grape variety that he produces on his estate.
It's not classified as aromatic varietal. That's strange enough, but it's not classified as a aromatic varietal, even though it's clearly an aromatic grape.
Or semi-aromatic?
Yeah, let's say semi-aromatic.
Yeah. Okay. We've talked about all of these different styles of Lacrima. Now, if we were to put this on our table with some food, what are we going to pair this with, Lorenzo?
Well, it's funny because when people taste Lacrima for the first time, especially chef, they say, "Oh my God, what am I going to pair this wine with?" Because it's too aromatic, it's too different. But Lacrima is extremely versatile in the food pairing. In fact, in the local cuisine, the Lacrima is paired both with white meat. We have a lot of turkey, rabbit, duck, pork, but also with fish. In the Le Marche cuisine is pretty much divided between coastal cuisine and inland cuisine. Inland is all about farms and animals of the farm. So again, duck, rabbit, pork, cooked in a very typical way with fennel seeds, wild fennel seeds in the oven, very tasty and oily. On the coast is all about fish, especially in the Ancona area. There is a typical dish which is called brodetto all'anconetana, which is a let's say Giopino style soup with a oily fish, fat fish, tomato sauce. Lacrima loves the pairing with tomato. So even though all the pasta dishes with some tomato, sausages, I'd say Lacrima goes with anything, just not the plain beefsteak is not the optimal pairing for the Lacrima. But depending on the young and older version, Lacrima, it's a red wine that emphasizes the aroma of the dish. Even if you think of the green kind of green meats like the liver, the duck, they have a slightly herbal green finish. The Lacrima makes them a bit more elegant and floral in the finish. So it's a very fun red wine to pair with food. It's complementary to many other reds.
That's good to hear, because it's always been one of those where I'm like, I have no idea what to serve with this. So that was a very comprehensive list. Oh, what about cheeses, Lorenzo?
Yes, definitely. Young cheese, especially, in my opinion. But when I was in Edmonton, we had with bisons, which was very good. So again, it's really versatile. These aromas, they tend to play a lot with the dish, especially if it's a dish a bit fat. Lacrima loves the pairing with something oily because it is dry. One very important thing to say is that the real Lacrima is totally dry. I've met so many people on the market who told me, "Oh no, I don't like Lacrima because it's sweet," because they had their first encounter with Lacrima there are sweet, so they have been sugar added. But the true nature of Lacrima is being totally dry. This is very important to note.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, here in Alberta, we love our red meats, and I'm glad you got to have it with some bison. Very interesting. I don't have any more questions for you, Lorenzo. Is there anything that you wanted to add before I give the room back to Stevie and we open it up to the floor for questions?
Well, the only thing that I like to stress because is that the wine communication is floated with rhetoric, and the only true concept that I wanna that is dear to me is that we are estate growers. We make wine from our own grapes, which is the the most characterizing aspect of my winery. We are part of FIVI, which is the Independent Wine Growers of Italy, and we really support this kind of communication because I think it's the most important aspect in a winery. Before all the rhetoric that evolves around the nature, the love of nature, the sustainability, and everything else. But the first question you should always ask to a producer is do you make wine from your own grapes, or are you a wine merchant, or are you something else? So just this, and then I would leave the room to the question and answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Lorenzo and Marcia. So this is a good time. We ran through those questions. If anybody in the audience has any questions, this is a good time for you to raise your hand and we will bring you onto the stage. In the meantime, I have a question for you, Lorenzo. Can you just give me an overview of your wines, like how many labels, what is the production, kind of more the business side and the economics. Where are your wines represented? Of course, in addition to Canada, which are your main markets and why?
Sure, we produce about 300,000 bottles, and they are divided half and half between Verdicchio and Lacrima. We produce 4 labels of Verdicchio. So we cover the full range of Verdicchio. We have an entry-level Verdicchio, the Verdicchio Superiore. We have a Verdicchio Riserva, which is aged, partially aged in wood. And now we have a new Verdicchio, which is a macerated. It's 6 months, 5-6 months maceration on the skin. It's not an orange wine, though. It's not oxidized.
What color is it?
No, it's totally yellow, not orange, no oxidation. And so we never wanted to make an orange wine. It's just a macerated wine, which is 2 slightly different things. So it's a new experiment we are doing. This regards Verdicchio. Regarding Lacrima, we make 2 Lacrima, the Orgiolo and the Rubico, the young and the aged wine. And with the Lacrima grape, we make a still rosé, a sparkling rosé, and a sweet. And then we also planted 25 years ago 3 hectares of international varietal, because back then, if you did not have a Cabernet, a Merlot, or something else, you were no one. So we had 3 hectares of mixed Cabernet, Petit Verdot, and Montepulciano. We never wanted to mix with the Lacrima because we vinify Lacrima 100% and Verdicchio 100%. So we made a red still wine out of those grapes, which is the Donderé, which is also available in Alberta through Gevinder. Gevinder was one of the first who brought the Donderé in Alberta. So, but it's the only, we only make few bottles of that. The real focus is on our 2 Verdicchios and 2 Lacrima, which are the main labels. And we are distributed here and there. It's a very, widespread distribution from Australia to US to New Zealand and Europe, and Italy. I think is still our main market because we have a good sales force in Italy, and they are really niche wine, especially the Lacrima. So it's not a kind of wine where you expect a huge rotation, even if prices are not.
Who's your importer in America, stateside?
No, we don't have a stateside importer. We work with about 10 importers in different states. So we tend to favor smaller distribution because we are not a huge winery. And I like to travel a lot because I'm also an hobbyist, advanced photographer. So
so you're a photographer.
Yeah,
tell us about that. Do you have
I make photography better than wine, but basically winemaking is basically an excuse to travel the world. It's really a good excuse. So you can find them on Instagram. Unfortunately, the past 2 years there is not much about my travels. It's only about my grapes and vineyards. It tend to be a bit boring. But if you scroll my Instagram in the farther than 2 years ago, you have a good.
So is it Lorenzo Marotti
Yeah,
Campi,
Marotti
that
Camp,
one?
yes, yeah.
Okay, so it's mostly landscape. Is that fair to
Landscape,
say?
animal, people, depending on where I go. Of course, if I go to Cambodia, I go for people. If I love US, especially US and Canada, especially the West. The West of them. I also made a video which is on my YouTube of pictures of US and Canada because the landscape over there are majestic, and so.
And are you doing your own social media?
Yeah, I'm one man band. This is not a winery. But we are two person. I have one very good person who does the accounting and the banks, which is the most boring part of the
But
business.
important for survival.
It's the most
Yes.
important and the most boring, and I do everything else, which goes from the sales to the internet to media to traveling to everything else, and of course the production. And I must say I'm very lucky. I have people with me in the production department which are extremely capable. The head of my workers is with me since 3 generations, and now his son is with us too, and we have a team of young kids working with us, and we take care of them, and they really work as if they was their own company. So we are very lucky in that department.
So I usually also like to know, like, how was the harvest, the last harvest?
Last harvest was very interesting because, as you know, especially in the central south of Italy, it was a record drought and heat. So when it was towards July, we were afraid that we would not harvest because we've never seen such a drought and hot temperature with winds. But we are lucky that we are in Sant'Amico, which is
where is that?
Sant'Amico is the hill of Morro d'Alba, which is considered a crew for Lacrima. It was selected. My grandfathers, my grandfather, the founder of the farm, hired an agronomist of the time to find land which was the most suitable for agriculture. And the soil here is very fresh. It's a mixed soil, clay, sand, but with a good stratification that really keeps the water. So whilst 5 miles from here or less, let's say 3 miles from here, they did not pick the grape this year. We had an excellent harvest, and you could see a huge difference between the next hill and our hill, just because of how the composition of the soil is. So we were lucky, good harvest, good quality, and also we had the quantities, and it was really unexpected. So this year, I think it was the proof that our parents had a good eye for the soil and for the land.
Excellent. So Lorenzo, which is your signature wine? Is it definitely Lacrima or is it also Verdicchio?
Well, the wine that I get most of the awards is our Verdicchio Riserva, San Mariano, along with the Lacrima Superiore, though. I mean, they're both equally awarded. And to me, it's really impossible to say I prefer one or the other because
it's like they're your children. It's like asking a parent who's your favorite child.
I end up drinking more white wine than red wine in general.
Sure.
And Verdicchio I think as a complexity that is second to no other white wine in Italy. Lacrima, it's a slightly simpler wine in some way because it's not an Nebbiolo, but it has such a strong personality, so it comes out from another door. So it's they're really two sons of mine. So
okay, so
sorry,
go ahead, Marcia.
Yeah. Do you have are you currently have a tasting room on site? Is it open? Are you able to do that?
We do tasting room. Yes, we do tasting room. Taking consideration the Marche is not Tuscany or Piedmont, where you have a huge amount of tourists all year round. So the tourist season is mainly in summertime, and we are always open. We've always been opened, and people can come in and get a taste of the wine at the bancone on the table of the counter of the shop. But we have several room for tasting. We have it's a large villa, so we either outside or inside. We host tasting. We've been doing more in the past. In the past 2 years have been more difficult, but we never closed them. So
Okay, I just brought up Andre from Latvia. He's also Italian wine ambassador from this class of 2021. Ciao, Andre.
Hi, buonasera.
Ciao. Have you got a question for Lorenzo or Marcia?
Yes, I have a question about Lacrima, and as I understand, you told us that this wine have a aging potential, or may I say longevity for 10, 15, 20 years, right?
correct, absolutely true. Yes, only if they are made in a truthful way.
Yeah, of course. Could you please describe the maturing phases of this wine? Let's say, does it have rooted phase and finally what the aromas after 15, 20 years this wine has?
Yes, definitely. Lacrima changes a lot because it's almost aromatic. So, like every aromatic wine, and the aroma, the primary aroma of the Lacrima are roses and violet, which are floral notes. And the floral notes, they don't stay in the wine forever. They evolve after a few years into something else. Usually, it's not fruit; it's more spices. So, even after a couple of years, you start to pick up juniper. Sage, lavender, dried purpuree flowers. But the further you go with the aging, the more develops clove, pepper notes, and even more it turns into balsamic notes. So really, the 20 years old Lacrima is a very balsamic, and it really it tastes like a pine forest. So this is the evolution. In terms of tannins and fruit, the wine tends to stay young because it is extremely rich of antioxidant in terms of anthocyanins. And even the color is surprisingly young after many years. Very few vintages turns to more orangey red color, but most of them they stay red violet. So it's very difficult to oxidate the Lacrima. You can try it by opening a bottle and leaving several days, and it actually grows. It doesn't fade. It grows. It really needs oxygen to open up. So that's the evolution of the Lacrima, and it becomes more elegant because Lacrima, when it's extremely young, it has a slightly green tannins. Tends to have slightly green tannins. But with some aging, they smoothen a bit, and it becomes more elegant and velvety.
Andrea, are you satisfied with his answer?
Yes, thank you very much, because I don't think that a lot of people, or among even Italian wine ambassador, has possibility to taste 15 or 20 years old Lacrima.
You can do only my winery. We hosted several wine ambassadors in the past with many old vintages. Last time we had a library tasting was with Ian D'Agata back at the time, but there are I've done several. I still do a lot of vertical tasting, but not many winery. Actually, I think I'm the only one who are keeping all the vintages of Lacrima to do those kind of library tasting. It's not really to sell them, but just to show that Lacrima is not only a Beaujolais Nouveau.
Well, Lorenzo, it sounds like an invitation to me. So I
Definitely,
think,
when you want,
okay,
when you want.
okay, so I think you'll be getting a lot of calls very soon. And certainly next time we organize a Gita Scholastica, we will be tapping you for that availability. So I know Laika, our clubhouse manager, has a question for you. Ciao, Laika.
Ciao, ciao, Stevie.
Ciao,
Ciao,
Laika.
Lorenzo. This is really out of curiosity because, yeah, I agree. Actually, I was looking through your website and the Marotti Campi website, and the photos are really astonishing. It's amazing. So now,
Well, we
now I
discovered he's a
understand why the photos are
photographer,
really great.
so
Yeah, amazing, right? So, this is out of curiosity because I was also helping you out earlier on the biography. You mentioned that your background is not really related to wine, right? I mean, you didn't you didn't when you started, you weren't really into the wine world, and then you then grew up to the vineyards. But then I'm really curious, like, what keeps you staying in your wine road? Why are you still staying? So that's it.
Well, I don't have a B plan, fortunately. So no, I consider myself lucky to be in this world because first of all, I work for myself, and this is an added value. Second, it's a kind of job which is very various. Monotony is not for me, and when you work in the wine, you do really a bit of everything. Most of all, you have the chance of traveling the world, seeing people, seeing the world, which I would not be able to do if I worked somewhere else. Of course, with the joy comes the pain. When you have a winery, especially when you have a winery in central south of Italy, when the value of the land and the value of the grapes is not so high, um, you must be brave to produce wine from your own vineyards. So not everything is as bucolic or poetic as it may sound, but I think it's a good life, and that's why I'm still here.
All right, thank you so much for that answer.
I think Lorenzo Stevie made a good point that hopefully the Gita Scholastica, where we've typically gone to Bulgari or Sicily, that things can move over to the east side and
Forget
so
Bulgari. Le Marche and my place is much more beautiful than Bulgari.
yes,
I cannot
yes.
I cannot speak
Marche
about the wine because the area is for sure more beautiful, and my estate also is beautiful, especially in May, where we have a lot of roses flowerings, and we have also an agritourism, so we can host you in the agritourism. So there is no excuse not to come.
It definitely sounds very sexy for many of us. Lorenzo, I have one last question. It's a little bit cheeky, and I always like to ask this question, which is your verdicchio, because I love verdicchio. I'm not very familiar. I've not had a lot of exposure to lacrima, but verdicchio. Your verdicchio in let's pretend we're in a blind tasting. Okay, how would you be able to recognize your verdicchio with others? Let's say you have like 3 verdicchios or 5 even, right? Amongst them, there's your verdicchio. How or would you be able to recognize your verdicchio, and how would you be able to do that if yes?
Probably not. No, maybe yes. It depends because verdicchio.
Well, that's an honest answer. Okay.
There is not one verdicchio. If in my estate, from the same vineyards, in the same winery, I managed to make 4 verdicchios that are all extremely different from one another, you can imagine how versatile and how many expressions of verdicchio you can have. So there is not really the verdicchio. Verdicchio for sure has some common characteristic. Verdicchio in my area, which is more Mediterranean, because Morro d'Alba is one of the hills of Iesi closer to the coast. We really see the sea. We have the influence of the sea breeze. The Verdicchio tends to be a bit more mature, a bit less aromatic, a bit more austere in the early stage of life, but they open up and they become very elegant and powerful with some aging. So minerality, salinity, those sea breeze notes on the nose, not too flowery, and most of all, I would recognize for the salinity of the wine, for the sapid finish that Verdicchios in this area tend to have. That said, I challenge every producer to find his own wine in a horizontal tasting, but because it's not so easy. But sometimes I manage to recognize when we do tasting of any Verdicchios.
That's fantastic. Lorenzo, thank you so much. We have come to the end, and so I'm going to close the room. Thank you so much, Marcia, for hosting, and hope to see you really soon in Verona at Vinitaly. I just want to remind everyone that next week we are back to our Thursday slot, but at 8 p.m. So thank you everyone for being flexible about this. Next week we have Stefan Metzner, our Italian wine ambassador, interviewing Clemens Lageda. And then the week after that we have Julianne Farricker interviewing Amanda Courtney. The week after that, 24th of February, which is my birthday, Ashley Howell with Pierluca Proietti of Abbia Nobia. That's it for now. And I'm going to sign off. Thank you all very much. Thank you
very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marcia.
Hey, Laika, you're doing a great job with Clubhouse.
Thank you, Laika.
And ciao, ragazzi.
Ciao, Lorenzo. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.
Guys, I'm Joy Livingston, and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love, and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to ItalianWinePodcast.com.